You open this door with the key of reason. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of truth. A dimension of freedom. A dimension of joy. You're moving into the land of both the ideal and the real, of the possible and the actual. You've just crossed over into the Capitalist Corner.
Where reason meets reality, welcome to the Capitalist Corner.
Welcome to the Capitalist Corner, everybody. Unfortunately, I am back in cold Connecticut. It was raining this morning. This is a big letdown compared to the wonderful city of San Diego, where I've been for the last few days. But life goes on, and so must the job that needs to be done. As you can see, I am here alone today. Mark Pellegrino is traveling. He informed me this morning that he had previously told me that he would be traveling. Luckily for me, I had the receipts in terms of video. So, well, you know, I'm just an I told you so kind of guy. Probably not my best character trait, but, well, whatever. Sometimes you just got to go with the flow, I think. Nah, you really don't. You should always do what reason tells you should do. Don't go with the flow. Full disclaimer, the American Capitalist Party is in no way affiliated with us here on the Capitalist Corner, even though Mark and I are chairman and vice chairman. And what you should be doing is liking, sharing, and subscribing. And when I say share, I mean go to YouTube and share from YouTube. Oh, my phone came unplugged. Share from YouTube to your other social media platforms. Megan Ribbons, I spoke with one Dr. Andrew Bernstein yesterday, and he is coming back from Dallas soon. I have to do an episode with him about his book Reckoning, and when that is done, we will connect with you, and we will definitely have you on the Rational Egoist to discuss education. Yes, Robert Naser, it does mean I cannot attend the Irreplaceable Spark Conference. When I informed Rosie Ginsburg that I was not invited, he said, oh, yes, you are. You just have to buy a ticket. So there's that. Although I got to say, listen, I love Rosie. Rosie is great. Rosie is so much fun to hang out with. Great sense of humor. Great guy. Very wealthy, but, great guy nevertheless. Rosie actually said he may have to sue me because he says that I'm propagating the myth that he's wealthy, and it may be driving down his, what are they there? The super chats or whatever. But, you know, if he wants to deny his wealth, who am I to stand in his way? But nonetheless, we have a lot to talk about today. Jason Adams said he'd buy me a ticket. Yes, the problem is, thank you very much, Jason. I appreciate that. But in addition to the ticket, it would have been an additional 5, I think, days of staying in a hotel. And the hotel is above my pay grade. So, and you'd be staying in there paying for the hotel while not getting paid for my job back over here. Yeah, Megan, I know you told Rosie that I said he's fabulously wealthy. But it's okay. It's public knowledge that I share how wealthy he is. And I suspect that perhaps his helicopter was parked on the roof of the hotel, although he tells me that he's scared to fly helicopters. Yes, Dr. Peikoff's place is absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. Robert Naser didn't get a free ticket either to the Spark Conference. And he's been there. He's 200 episodes on the ARC UK. Well, maybe we got to take this up with one Rosie Ginsburg. But before that, maybe we should actually get to some news, deal with some stories here today. Oh, Jason Adams said we'd bunk together. That'd be a hoot. Jason, I just wonder, top bunk or bottom bunk? Which one do you take? In prison, the bottom bunk is a big, very high real estate. Most people want it, mostly because the guy that gets the bottom bunk treats the cell like it's his and not the guy on the top bunk cell, because the bottom bunk guy can just roll around, run wherever he wants, do whatever he wants. But the bad thing about being on the bottom bunk is you have this guy jumping down all the time in front of you. He's got his feet hanging down, and that can be a real pain in the ass. Diana Rosamango, my girlfriend, it seems, has a crush on Chandler that we hung out with. That's cool with me. I mean, if you want to have a crush on the guy, that's what the hell. But let's get to some news. So, the first story I want to cover is this. Karine Jean-Pierre, evidently, she wrote a book and she's doing a tour and discussing the book, but she does not want to answer the question about why she never noticed, or never, I shouldn't say never noticed, never mentioned or didn't address Biden's intellectual and cognitive decline. She does not want to answer this question. She evades it. The question is, though, I mean, if you are going to write a book about your time in the White House, you should be prepared for this question, right? I mean, everybody knows what happened. Everybody saw what happened, especially in that debate. So it's like the old saying, if you find yourself in a ditch, stop digging. But she just keeps digging. She keeps going on these shows. She keeps talking about it. Look, you put yourself out there. You got to be able to answer this question. I mean, I get it. A part of me gets it. You know, if you're a lawyer, for instance, you don't run around telling everybody how guilty your client is. And if you're a White House press secretary, you're basically there to represent the president. So it's not like she's going to come out and say while she's doing a press conference, well, the president obviously is really lost his marbles. But at the same time, and this is why I would not take a job as a defense attorney, because I would not want to represent somebody I knew was guilty. And I'm not saying there's necessarily anything wrong with that, because that's what allows the defense of people who aren't guilty. But I just wouldn't be comfortable with it. And I would not be comfortable out there lying for a president. But I got to say, the aforementioned decline of Joe Biden, I generally don't watch television and I don't watch the news, and maybe I need to. I do all my news getting, or most of it, through reading. I read various news outlets. I go through social media, and when someone makes a claim, I'll go check on that, and from there that's where I get my information. And so I was not witnessing, like most people, the severe decline of Joe Biden. I was seeing a lot of people claim it. The problem that I had was these same people I've learned to not trust. So when they were claiming that he was losing it, I'm like, yeah, maybe, whatever. But to have them now say, well, we told you so. Let's pump the brakes on that a little bit. You also told me that Haitian immigrants were eating cats and dogs. They're eating the pets. So, you also told me that January 6th was a love fest, or that it was Antifa. You also told me that the presidential election was stolen from Donald Trump, and that I could see this for myself by watching 2000 Mules. So, with the amount of things that you've been wrong about and lied about, you don't get to then say, when you get one thing right, aha, we told you so. It reminds me of gamblers, right? I don't know how many of you know gamblers, but gamblers will lose their shirt over and over and over again. But then they win one time and they say, I told you this was a good pick. I told you. So, but Karine Jean-Pierre, I have no sympathy for her at all. Nor do I have any sympathy for any of these people who lie for a living. Is Mark kidding me with this? Mark, I told him a half hour ago I wanted to tell him a funny story. This was before I got in the shower. I said, do you want to hear the funny story? Mark said, yeah. I said, okay, call me. I waited a few minutes. He didn't call. I said, never mind. Call me later. I got to take a shower. It's now 12:10. So he knows I'm on the air, and I get the text, okay, I'll call you when I'm on the road. Then he says, oh, wait, you're doing the show. I'll try to call you later. Oh, Lord. Mark is freaking awesome. I got to tell you, anybody that puts up with me as a friend, I got to say, I got a lot of respect for him. I am a ball-breaking machine. I mean, Brent McCall, my cellmate for 11 years, he's the same way. And he used to joke how, we wake up 5 a.m. breaking balls. That's just, what we do. So why is that a problem, Persephone? Why does that give you the look? She's giving me this look like I've said something wrong. I don't know. But at any rate, I think my girlfriend's here in the chat flirting with Chandler. Megan Ribbon says, if you find yourself in a ditch with a shovel, as Chief Wiggum would say, dig up, stupid. All right, we'll go for that. But yeah, so we do not like Karine Jean-Pierre. We do not like anybody who lies for a living. James Valiant says, I am honest and honestly delightful. Jim, had I known ahead of time that you were not, that Mark was not going to be here, I would have contacted you and put you on the show with me. But by the time I found out, I thought it would be a little mean if I were to inundate you with all these articles at the last minute and try to drag you on. But in the future, Jim, I am going to hold Mark to the fire about when he's not going to be here. Friendly reminder, Jim, please share the video with the person you're supposed to share it with. Maybe you already did, but if not, I just remind you to do so. All right, where am I here? Wrong place. Okay, back up. Now, there's this, there was a post on X that, Jim, you want to come on the show now? I'll put you on. I don't give a damn. I'm nuts. Who remembers the Jerky Boys? Anybody? Diana's free to flirt with whomever she pleases. Yes, absolutely. It'd be a little sick if I was like, hey, you better not flirt with anybody, but I'm going to flirt away. But I got to be honest with you. It's usually the women flirting with me. Like, I mean, not for nothing, but we were on for a few minutes before the show, and Persephone just doesn't stop. Jim can't stay the whole time, so I'm not going to put Jim on. No worries, Jim. I figure you have a previous obligation to one Rozzy Ginsburg. Please tell Rozzy that the audience here understands how wealthy he is, but we are objectivists and capitalists, and we will not hold it against him. I actually admire the fact that Rozzy is so wealthy. Please let him know. So J.D. Vance says, I have been asked many times, why did I want to run for and become vice president? Nice, deeper with Diego. His answer to why he wanted to be vice president is, I wanted to serve. Who do you think? What do you think? What do you think J.D. Vance says he wants to serve? Now, when people run for public office, right, normally they want to serve their constituents. They'll say, I want to serve the town, or I want to serve the city, or I want to serve the state. On a national level, maybe you want to serve the country. No, not one J.D. Vance. He who formerly called Trump America's Hitler. No, not him. J.D. Vance wants to serve Trump. What do you think? I mean, is that, am I making a big deal about this? Or is that absolutely freaking ridiculous that the vice president of the United States says he wanted to run for office so that he could serve Trump? What do you think? Because, I mean, it seems, you're not supposed to want to serve a guy. First of all, you take a vote. Well, no, he did run for VP. I like numbers, because if Trump loses, then Vance does not become the VP. So they had to win together. He was selected as a running mate, but he did have to run. But the bottom line is this. The oath is to the United States, not Constitution, not to the orange idiot in the Oval Office right now. Yes, I called him the orange idiot. Yeah, TDS. I know. Yeah, I got it. I don't care. Had to actually block Scott Schiff on Twitter over this type of stuff, because he just doesn't stop. Like, I'll tell you what, any day of the week, twice on Sunday, hell, twice every day, I will take TDS or any other DS when it comes to hating or distrusting dishonest politicians. I'll take that every time, rather than being a bootlicking, ass-kissing toady. Every time I'll do that. Every time. Because I don't know how people that do that look themselves in the mirror. They can't have any self-respect. I don't know. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not kissing the ass of a friend, of a family member. I'm not going to sit around where I have friends and family and I'm going to ignore their flaws and act like everything they do is swell. The hell, yeah, I caught myself. The hell if I'm going to do it for a goddamn politician, right? You should see, Persephone loves this kind of talk. You should see the way she's looking at me now. I'm just saying, there's no face palm. It's just like her, batting her eyelashes, the whole bit. She's got the cute little headphone things on. But yeah, so I'm curious. I saw Nicole Hingle said that there's no way. Okay, yeah. So Nicole Hingle says it's BS. Megan Ribbon says it's gross. Kat Sterling says that is not very good. It's a cookbook. I don't know what that's all about. Ra Hazam says the VP wants to service Trump, if you know what I mean. No, perhaps you could clarify for us, Ra Hazam. What do you mean by service? Nicole Hingle agrees with my outrage. Deeper with Diego says, what about the Democrats? I know you're being sarcastic, but they suck too. Jason Adams says, Vance is portrayed as Tattoo from Fantasy Island on South Park. Is he? Does he say the plane, the plane? I don't know if we can even say that anymore. It might be racist at this point. Okay, what does Megan say here? I can't see it. She says, please don't clarify. James Valiant says he doesn't see the contradiction. All right, Diana Rosamagno. See, this is the thing. Let me tell you. I've known Diana since I was in 8th grade. Okay? Everybody on the planet that knows her whole life, including her mother and sister and her father, pronounce it Rosamango, right? So I always thought her last name was Rosamango. But then she starts calling herself Rosamagno. Everyone's like, what the hell is this? Rosamagno. But then I look at her name, and sure enough, there's an N before the O, so it should be Rosamagno. So this begs the question, why the hell has it been Rosamango for so long, and why is everybody pronouncing it Rosamango? But now you get in trouble for saying Rosamagno, so now she looks like the dope, but I had to come to her defense because I'm like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Help me out here, Persephone. There's a word I'm looking for. Chivalrous. I'm very chivalrous. So I come to my woman's defense. And I mean, look, I didn't just take her word for it. I went and checked. I looked it up into the pronunciation guides on the internet. And sure enough, it's Rosamagno. So she was correct. And once I found out she was correct, I'm defending her. Although I did tell her that if she ever gets arrested at the airport when we're on a trip, I'm leaving her because I have to get where I have to get. So maybe that's not so chivalrous. What do you think? All right. What do we got next here? So, most Americans, and I found this interesting. I wouldn't have guessed it ahead of time. Most Americans say U.S. is on the wrong track on the economy, immigration, and more. So, when it comes to the federal government, I hate when they do this. These cookies, are they called cookies? All right. So anyways, the way the federal government is functioning, 29% of Republicans even say it's going in the wrong way. All Americans, 65% say it's going in the wrong directions, and 92% of Democrats say it's going in the wrong direction. When it comes to the economy, 65% of all Americans say we're heading in the wrong direction. 29% of Republicans say we're going in the wrong direction. 91% of Democrats say we're in the wrong direction. And there's a bunch more. But I found it interesting. Of course, I expect the Democrats to just go against whatever the Republicans say. So that doesn't surprise me at all. What are we talking about here? Solient Green. We need to get back on track, folks. Pay attention to what we're talking about. Don't get into side conversations. We don't need that right now. Okay. I forgot what I was going to say. I hate when that happens. But anyways, but the 29% of Republicans who see the economy is going in the wrong way, I find very interesting. Because what do you do? I mean, do they still support the Trumpster? If 29% of Republicans think it's going in the wrong way, I mean, I guess they could make the argument, right, that, well, it's not going as bad as it would go if the Democrats were in office. But I don't know. I find that very interesting. Who here thinks the country's headed in the right direction? I don't know how anybody could think it's heading in the right direction. I really don't. And I don't just mean in terms of specific policies. I'm talking about the culture at large and in the way people interact with one another and the insults. I mean, you have Trump posting this thing of dropping feces out of a plane onto people, and here in Connecticut. We have actually here in Connecticut, here in my town, one of our senators, not on the national level, on the state level, he has a sign with cheeseburgers and something else, and it says "cholesterol, do your job," an obvious reference to Trump's love of fast food. I saw a post the other day that said Charlie Kirk had it coming, prove me wrong. And I get it. Okay, this is the internet, and maybe that's not a majority, but it's enough, right? I mean, it's enough to tell me that things are gross. The fact that these folks aren't ostracized from the communities in which they live tells me it's gross. It's a problem. Just common decency, manners, being polite, that sort of thing. Yes, like, share, and subscribe. That would be very polite. But we're really headed in a bad direction there. Oh, Kat Sterling saw it on social media. Okay, Kat Sterling. Speaking of Kat Sterling, Diana was confused on Facebook. She said, "Who is Catherine Mackenzie Sterling?" So you have to stick with one, or not Catherine. It's just got to be Kat. Is America on the right track? A meaningful question. When was the last time anyone thought America was on the right track? Well, right now, there's 71% of Republicans think that we're on the right track, Megan. I don't know. It's a difficult question for me to say when was America on the right track, because track implies sort of, a long travel. And if we were once on the right track and then got on the wrong track, it means that we were kind of derailed, right? Or somehow turned the train around. So I don't know. That'd actually be a great topic for discussion, is objectively, when was America last on the right track? That's something I really like to discuss. If only I had somebody here to discuss it with me, that would be great. I'm just saying. Keith Gray says the industrial revolution. Larry Green says we're on the right track for Trumptopia. Lee's watching outside with headphones on. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. What else do we got? Oh, this I really enjoyed. This is from the Free Press. According to the Free Press, 62. So remember now, 65% of Americans think the country's on the wrong track, according to the other poll. Here's a poll from the Free Press. It says 62% of Americans believe the federal government has too much power, which is a record high, according to a new Gallup poll. This I find absolutely absurd. It says more Democrats believe the government has too much power than Republicans for the first time since 2007. So Republicans now don't think the government has too much power? Really? Because your guy's in there? And Democrats all of a sudden don't like that the government has power because their guy's not in there? These, I'm trying so hard not to swear. These people are just so anti-conceptual in the way that they think, so unprincipled. The government has too much power whenever the government by law can violate the individual rights of its citizens. That's the test, folks. If they're allowed by one law to violate one individual right, they have too much power. Never mind when we have what we have today. Top income brackets, I think, are 39 points or 37 point something percent. That's ludicrous. State taxes, income taxes, property taxes, sales taxes. No, I'm trying not to swear, Katie. Persephone's laughing at me, or maybe she's flirting. I don't know. It's hard to tell with Persephone. So the bottom line is the government violates our rights. And if it's violating our rights, it is too big and has too much power. What I would love to ask, like if I was in the room with these folks that are taking this poll, I would say to them, okay, in what way do you now think the government has too much power? What gave it away? Was it the rounding people up and sending them out of the country with no due process? Is it bombing boats on the seas because Trump says that they are carrying drugs? I mean, what did it? Like, what was the tipping point that lets you see that maybe the government has too much power? And when would you say, no, the government has just enough power? I'd really, really love to talk to these folks. I'd really love to know, because it seems clear to me that there's too much power and have all my life. Tammy Gidman is watching from work, but she doesn't want me to tell her boss. Well, I'll make a deal with you, Tammy. Like, share, and subscribe, and I won't tell your boss. How's that sound? I think I should bring Persephone on screen, and then everybody can see how wonderful she is. Persephone has this accent, right? It's a South African accent. And the South African accent always throws me off every time, because I think it's British. And then you get yelled at. It's not British. It's South Africa. Well, how the hell do I know? I've never been to either place, right? But you get yelled at. The only time, well, no, not the only time, but I remember I used to watch this show called The Rules of Engagement. And there was an Indian guy who was from South Africa. And so he had this sort of British accent, what I thought was British, but it's South African, But the guy, the other character on the show, who also played David Putty on Seinfeld, Patrick Warburton, told him, "Hey, what's up with you, man? You look like one kind of person, but you sound like another." And the guy said, "Dear Lord," and Persephone's now looking at me like, "Oh my God, you didn't just say that," but I did. I said it. I did. Now she's smiling and she's admiring my bravery. Okay. Country's headed in the wrong direction. People think the country has too much power. Vance is here to serve Trump, and Karine Jean-Pierre will not just say, "Look, I lied when I said Biden was Copus Mentis." Oh, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Zohran Mamdani's 5 lessons for the Democrats. This was actually a very interesting article from the Jacobin, because while on substance, I disagree wholeheartedly with the policies that Mamdani is going to put in place, the stuff that they talk about is actually a pretty astute messaging. And like, for instance, he says the point one is start with substance. Oh, I agree with that 100%. We have to have substance to what we're talking about. And he says, Mamdani begins by stating the problem plainly. New York is too expensive. Now, here's the thing. I agree New York is too expensive. The question is, what do you do about it? And here's where this guy is absolutely insane, because he thinks that things like rent freezes, free subway rides, free transportation, and grocery stores, government grocery stores, are the way to lower costs, when, of course, lower prices. Of course, they are not. But that's what he thinks. But the bottom line is, that's solid advice. Start with substance, right? Win attention through conflict. In other words, don't run away from conflict. They talk about here that attention is ratioed by conflict. People tune in for conflict far more than they tune in for virtually anything else. I mean, just think about what I was just talking about a minute ago, and how the culture's gone downhill in terms of manners. People seem to absolutely thrive on conflict. Then number 3 is, let your style serve your substance. In other words, act in such a way that people are attracted to the style, but use that style to serve your overall message, what you're trying to do. And it says, Mamdani projects the kind of steadiness politics used to prize, the happy warrior spirit. He's serious about the fight, light on bitterness, confident that persuasion is still possible. He smiles easily, but never cheaply. His tone is even, humor dry, patience visible. Those sound like all good things. I mean, again, what he's messaging, what he's promoting is absolutely awful, evil. But the sort of backdrop or the background of how he's doing it, I think, is something that we can learn from. I think that we need to have, the happy warrior spirit. And I know that I often don't, what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't demonstrate this. I'm often angry and aggravated, especially when Persephone gives me dirty looks. But I'd much prefer she just smile and flirt. But the point of the matter is, being a happy warrior like the late Ronald Reagan is beneficial. It's good. And he gives he says he contrasts with nearly every Democratic archetype, the Schumer and Jeffrey style. And he is not like a moderate either. He's just what he is, and he seems happy about it. He says, meet culture with competence and conviction. It says, in our attention economy, culture war fights are often less about policy than about vibes. Media and political professionals use hot button questions to read a candidate's religion. Are you ideological or pragmatic, tribe or coalition? The point isn't resolution, it's provocation. And it says that the way that he deals with this is he quickly answers the questions that he's asked. Even if it's not relevant to what he's talking about, he'll answer the question, but then circle back to what it is that he thinks is important. He doesn't get caught up. Like he had previously said, defund the police, for instance, which was a dumb thing. And now they ask him and he just says, well, yeah, I shouldn't have said that. That wasn't the right way to put it. But it says, keep the loop small enough to echo. So he still messages that there's problems with crime. He's just learned the messaging. So he wouldn't say defund the police. What he says is now things like, well, we shouldn't send the police alone without, into mental health situations without mental health professionals. But his overall message is the same. It's basically that sometimes police violate people's rights. And I'm not going to get into whether I agree. I certainly don't agree with defunding the police. But the point is he basically keeps the message the same, tweaks it slightly to make it more presentable. So overall, I think this article is worth a read. I'm actually going to post it to X. Some people are probably going to wonder why I'm posting it, but well, that's neither here nor there. Just read the article and you'll see exactly what we are talking about, or I am talking about, because again, Mark is not here. There, Persephone smiles. All right, what else we got? Oh, this is good stuff here. Donald Trump and Orrin Cass. Orrin Cass does something for Trump. I forget what. He's some kind of a half-ass advisor, whatever. But this is from Reason Magazine. And it says that they promised tariffs would bring prosperity. Both are now confronting reality. It says the Trump administration is reportedly looking to ease some tariffs on goods not produced in the U.S. as the consequence of a universal tariff scheme are becoming impossible to ignore. So let's just see what we got here as some of the consequences. So here's the first point that they make, right? Is sometimes there's things that just aren't produced in America or can't be in a high volume to meet demand. For instance, coffee, bananas, there's things like that. But there's also, so if you want to make something in America, but the raw materials come from another country. So you may even agree, you'll make the stuff in America, but you still got to buy the stuff from overseas in order to make it. And you're being taxed through the teeth in order to get this stuff. So even for people who agree to make it here, they still end up paying imports because they've got to buy the stuff from overseas. And evidently, companies are not very happy with this. The manufacturing sector has actually dipped into a recession this year. A recession for the manufacturing sector. Their executives are reporting higher input prices, fewer new orders, and declining employment, all of which can be attributed to the sudden tariff hikes imposed earlier this year. Consumers have also been hit with one of the biggest tax increases in American history. Retail prices, which had been falling steadily since the pandemic, began increasing earlier this year. So, in other words, economists were right. Trump and his band of merry sycophants were wrong. It's going to get worse. And, they'll keep defending it, keep lying, I'm quite sure. But, That's just what they do. Trump, on a different topic, this coming from ABC News. Evidently, he says now the meeting with Putin is off. He's not going to meet with Putin after he previously said he was going to meet with Putin. How anybody thinks this is good foreign policy, right? I've said over and over on the show, I am no foreign policy expert. But one thing I do know is consistency, right? And the only thing consistent about Trump is his inconsistency. Just think about this, right? He's going to give Zelensky the tomahawks until he talks to Putin, and then he's not going to. He frequently says that Ukraine started the war, which of course they didn't. He's going to meet with Putin. He's not going to meet with Putin. And how he thinks that this is somehow shows strength, I don't know. I think flexibility is a good thing, but only when it's buttressing integrity, which Trump doesn't have any. You just don't know what he means. You don't know if you can trust him. You don't know if you can believe him. And it just keeps going and going and going with his foreign policy. Let's see what else we got here. Donald Trump is telling the Supreme Court that his power to deploy the National Guard, he's saying his deployment of the National Guard is not reviewable by the court. The problem here is that there's specific conditions that need to be met in order to make it legal for the president to deploy the National Guard. And Trump is saying that he's the sole arbiter. He's the decider of whether or not these conditions are met, and that the court has no business doing it. I humbly disagree with Mr. Trump. So does Reason Magazine. And so I don't know who Jason Clark is, Lee. And so does the person who wrote the article. There's a separate article that refutes it. I think I'm going to post that as well. Post it to X right now. I'm wicked thirsty today. I don't know what's happening. It's going, let's see. No. All right, just shared it to X if anybody's interested in reading that article. The idea that a president of the United States is the sole decider of laws is so antithetical to what the principles upon which this country was founded. It really is. And then, like, I think these No Kings protests, I don't know much about them, but they seem wrong-headed. But I certainly get the sentiment that you can't, in a free society, the idea that one person decides something as important as deploying military and that nobody else can check him. The entire country was founded on the principles of checks and balances. So Mr. Trump, as is often the case, is simply wrong again. All right, let's see if we got something else. I have something wrong here with the back of my tooth, and it's scraping against my tongue, and it hurts like hell. I'm going to the dentist tomorrow after the show, if anybody's really concerned, although you probably aren't. You got an article here about government promising healthcare for all, but all we're getting is waiting lines. Surprise, surprise. You try to provide something for free and you're going to diminish the supply, increase the demand, and end up with shortages. And that's what we have there. There was this couple. This is an interesting story to me anyway. I got to get somebody on to talk about asset forfeiture. So this couple is driving down the street and they get pulled over and they had $41,000 on them, $41,680 to be exact. And the money was confiscated, not because they broke any laws, but because there was a presumption that they were going to buy illicit drugs with the money. This is fucking America. This is America, right? This is the United States of America. So we're allowed to have cash in America. Cash is not illegal. We're allowed to have cash, and should be allowed to travel with cash. And it's not the goddamn government's business how much cash we have. But they took these people's money, but ultimately they've prevailed in court, and they've got the money back, which I think is absolutely fantastic. All right, let's get some questions here. Help me out. Little pieces of paper should be gold. Well, they should be, but they're not. But if they were, I'm sure the government would still find a way to try to take them from you. The curse words are just sentence enhancers. It's okay, I promise. Persephone, you want to come on? Persephone, do you want to come on? Nod yes or no. Yeah? All right. Here's Persephone, everybody. Everyone say hi to Persephone. Persephone, you got to duck a little so everyone can see the cute. Are those are cat ears?
They are cat ears. This is nice and awkward. Hold on.
It doesn't need to be awkward.
Scooch lower
just
in my
because
chair.
Listen, just because I spend all my time telling the audience how much you flirt with me, there's no reason for you to feel awkward or anything else. So Persephone, I got a question for you anyway. What's it like being behind the scenes on this show? Do you enjoy it? Is it tough? What's it like?
It's hilarious. I do enjoy it. I like listening to you guys talk, and I like watching what's going on in the chat. And it's funny, and I love being ignored when I send stuff in the private chat, and then conversation just continues.
What do you mean ignored? You mean like the sign over here that says there's 23 unanswered questions, and is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's funny.
Well, there's a lot going on here, Persephone. Persephone, what are your thoughts politically? Have they changed over the years? I know you're in a a kind of a backward country, but nevertheless,
country.
But nevertheless, what's it like? I mean, what's your political views?
When I was 20, I was at a party and my friend said to another friend that I was talking to, he said, ignore her, she's a communist. And that was pretty accurate. I was very sort of pro-communism, and I was pro that. And I was like, we could do free healthcare. And, as I've gotten older and I've seen what free healthcare looks like and what free housing looks like and what all of that sort of thing looks like, and I've done some reading, I've just decided that that's stupid and dumb. So I think my political views are exactly opposite to what they used to be when I was younger.
So you'd say that you learn from both experience and reading?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. What are some of the books
that I've read that I've learned from?
That you've thrown against the wall. Of course that you've read, Persephone. Oh, scram. I actually met the author the other day.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, that's where I was in San Diego. Yeah. But what a wonderful book. Diana actually told me she's going to watch the lectures with me because I've never watched them. So I'm pretty excited about that. But that is a fantastic book. So you live in South Africa.
Yeah.
And I keep hearing about this persecution. I think even I've heard ethnic cleansing perhaps being done to the white population in South Africa. They're actually having an increase in Afrikaners. Those are the white South Africans, I guess, that are coming over here to America. What's the real deal? What's happening in South Africa?
So you get a lot of people talking about the white genocide because we have a lot of white farmers, because obviously black people until 1994 couldn't own farms. We had apartheid.
How do you pronounce that? Say that again.
Apartheid.
All right.
Apartheid. Yeah. So we had that until 1994 when the ANC took over. ANC is our current political party. So
what does that stand for?
African National Congress.
Okay.
So that was led by Nelson Mandela. And then we've had a couple of presidents all within the same party. It's been the ANC since 1994. So most of the farms are owned by white people. And what has happened in the last 15 years is that there have been some really, really gruesome farm murders. So people breaking into farms and slaughtering families in really disgusting and disturbing ways. And obviously that's mostly white people because it's the white people that own the farms. And this gets touted as it's a white genocide, but it's not really, because they kill the black people that work there as well. It's just most of the farms are owned by white people. Also, we've got a lot of sort of discriminatory practices, black economic empowerment. So there's sort of DEI, and people don't like that. If you're a white man, it's hard to get a job because they'll, take a less qualified black person over you, just because they've got quotas to fill. So that doesn't help.
So Race Jacobson says, so it's not white people broadly, but farmers specifically.
Yes. That's what they're talking about when they talk about white genocide. I mean, also, like, white people are a minority in South Africa. We're like 11% of the population. So if there's like a murder and it's of a white person, they're like, oh, white genocide. But it's not really. It's just crime. Obviously, there's a lot of murders. There's a lot of crime. We're a very poor country. There's a lot of inequality that still happens, or because of, our government sucks. So there's a lot of crime. And when it happens to white people, they're like, oh, it's a white genocide. It's not. It's just crime. It's just murder. It sucks.
Well,
but
murder
it's not.
sucks. Yes. You heard it here, folks. Murder sucks. Straight from Persephone. Now, but you mentioned that there's these black empowerment policies or
broad-based black economic empowerment.
Right. So what they're basically trying to do is what we would call over here, they pass, for instance, what the hell am I thinking?
DEI.
Affirmative action we used to have.
Oh, yeah.
I think they still have it. Or, there's a lot of people want reparations. They want to atone for the past. To level the playing field. Of course, it's unjust to do that, and of course, it doesn't work. But is that what happens in South Africa?
Yeah, kind of, but it's not working. So obviously, there's a lot of they engage brain before opening mouth. There's a lot of policies in place to try and make up for what happened during apartheid, right? So people were removed from their homes. So there's like huge areas that used to be black, and then they were forcibly moved out and they were moved further away from the city. And so there's a lot of policies in place to try and address some of that inequality. So RDP housing, which is like free housing if you're, a certain color. And it's easier for you to get into university, and scholarships and grants and broad-based black economic empowerment. There's all of these programs to try and address inequality, and none of it works, except for there's too much corruption in the government, in the South African government.
Is South Africa segregated? What I mean is, like, do predominantly the whites all live in one area?
No.
And, so it's you're mixed.
Yeah. So we. No, it is a very mixed country. You will still have like certain suburbs that are sort of predominantly white or predominantly black, but that's
That's what?
Yeah.
What are you going to say? You don't want to say something controversial?
No, I'm just it's a sort of a racism thing. If there's that South Africa is very racist still. So
in both directions, would you say?
Yeah. Very. Black people in South Africa, like, I mean, obviously it's not like everyone, but there is a lot of racism in all of the directions, because we're not just black and white. We're black, white, colored, which is a different thing, and then Indian. So colored is a race in South Africa. It's not like a mean term for black people. It's a race.
I don't understand. What? So who are the coloreds?
So you've got white people, which is me. Then you've got black people, which are like Zulu, Xhosa, of those tribes. And then you have colored people who are technically mixed race. So Trevor Noah, I don't know if you know Trevor Noah.
Yeah. I don't know him personally.
Yeah. So sort of like that. They are kind of mixed race, but they're not. They are descended from a specific, a lot of them descended from like a specific tribe.
Khoisans?
Khoisan.
Is that what they're descended from?
The original people that lived here.
And the other tribes are descended from Bantus, correct?
No, there was a lot of tribes.
But
Tsonga,
but from what I
Xhosa,
understand, the
Zulu,
Bantus really
also colored technically.
but they really sub-Saharan Africa, the Bantus really I don't know if colonized is the right word, but I think maybe it is, but didn't they?
Yeah, but there was a lot of war between the tribes. Like it was bloody in South Africa. Well, it was bloody in sub-Saharan Africa before the settlers got here, and even afterwards.
So those tribes that you named, they're not all descended from Bantus?
No.
I got to find this out, Persephone. Tell a story to the audience while I look this up.
Tell a story about what? Oh no, this
Um,
is terrible.
How handsome I am, smart, something.
Mike is so handsome, and
Yeah.
every time he talks about me flirting with him, I'm making googly eyes. Every single time. Every single time. Someone asked a question, does South Africa have a constitution with any sort of free speech? Yes, kind of, but you can be thrown in jail for saying naughty words that you're not supposed to. So we have a specific word for black people, which is kind of like the N-word, but it's Afrikaans. And if they hear you say it, you can get thrown in jail. Someone did get thrown in jail for 3 years. You also can get fined. You will definitely get fired.
Wow. Okay, see, I knew this. I told you that Zulus are descended from Bantus. Who are the other tribes you said you got over there?
Tsonga,
How do you spell that?
Xhosa, Tsonga.
All right, hold
Tell a
on.
story. Tell a story about Lee. Lee is amazing. She's so
And,
sweet.
okay,
She
the
works at Tesco.
XHOSA, that's the other one you said?
Yeah.
Also descended from Bantus.
Oh, showing me up.
What's the other
Rude.
ones? The Sangas? How do you spell that? TS?
Tsonga. Deeper with Diego, you really do just be saying anything,
He does. You
and I
can't really-
do kind of like it.
No. It came up thongs. It's calling them Tonga. Tonga. Is that the same thing?
No,
Different?
no. Why are we talking about this?
Because you're from
You just want
South
to prove
Africa.
me wrong. You just
No, I
wanna
want to
prove me-
learn. I want to learn, and it's been a long time since I've read about this stuff. I actually read about. Yes, they are Bantus. I actually read about this in Jared Diamond's book, Gun, Germs, and Steel, years ago. It was a very, very, I liked it, very, very good book. But so that's where I got all this from. So as I'm here talking to you and you're saying this stuff, it was running some of it contrary to what I had previously learned. So I wanted to check. Maybe I'm wrong, and if I am, then I can correct myself. You see?
I'm gonna go Google if all of the tribes are Bantu, because I don't think all of them are. Because again, we have like so many.
All right. Why don't I do this? Keep talking, Persephone. Talk about how wonderful I am.
Race Jacobson, what is the color of friendship? Because I have never seen it, so I don't know if it's accurate. Life in South Africa is great. It's very hot. It is 30 degrees Celsius right now, which is ridiculous, and it's too hot, and I don't agree. I think
don't-
weather is stupid.
You do.
Yes, I do. I don't like the heat. I want to go back to England where it's cold.
Back to England.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I spend a lot of like South African summer in England, so that I can get away from the horrible heat. So I go to England when it's like the height of summer, and then I spend some time in England, and then I come back.
Okay, so I don't know how you pronounce it. I just say Khoisan, but the Khoisan, they're not Bantu.
No.
The San, the Bushmen, they're
Mhm.
not Bantu.
Also technically would be kind of colored.
The Khoikhoi,
Yeah.
Koko, they're Koko.
Khoi
Yeah,
khoi.
they're not Bantu. The Greeka or Greekwa aren't Bantu.
Griqua.
The colored communities with they actually call them colored communities with
Yes.
Khoisan roots. They just those are the Nama.
Wait, so Deep with Diego has a question. He said, "Do I
Mm.
have any opinions on the Marxist communist influence?" Yes, we have a politician who don't say violent things. We have a politician who was in power for a little while, and he got impeached, Jacob Zuma. But there's another one. Oh, now I can't remember his name. Oh, damn. And he's such a communist, and he's also so anti-white people. He leads chants of like kill the boer, which is basically like kill the farmer, and he's like kill all white people. We're like, cool. He's a politician. He wants us all dead. That's great. So all of the communists, like the communist party sort of ideals in South Africa, have led to nothing but strife and haven't helped anyone. And the country is just as bad off as it was.
So, when you said kill the white people, I've got to ask, who here has ever seen the Saturday Night Live episode where Eddie Murphy sang the song Kill the White People? Has anybody seen it? If you have not, just Google Eddie Murphy, Kill the White People. It is freaking hilarious. Persephone, I would put the pressure on you to give the capitalist thought of the day.
And I just say no.
Wait, that's an option?
But I will just say no. You can't make me do anything.
Okay. I'm going to leave that one alone. And okay, and I'm going to give the capitalist thought. See how she is now. You see how she blushes and everything else. So now you know I'm not lying, people. Capitalist thought of the day is this, and it's in honor of Persephone in South Africa. Capitalism is a wonderful system of economics. It's also a system whereby individual rights are honored, respected, and protected. And the bottom line is that capitalism needs to happen not just here in America, but everywhere, including South Africa. We focus on America, of course, because that's where we are from. It does not mean, however, that when people in other countries have their rights violated, that it's okay or that we shouldn't pay any attention. We should be fighting for the individual rights of all people everywhere, including South Africa and anywhere else that they're not respected. With that said, I thank everybody for being here. And my question for the audience is this. Should we have Persephone on? No, that's not it. Should we make Persephone not use her cat earphones when she comes on here? Do you? No, I keep coming up with a better way to put it. Here's the question to answer on YouTube. Do you like Persephone's cat ears? That's the question. Do you like Persephone's cat ears? I find them absolutely adorable. Go to YouTube and answer the question. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to this show. Remember also to check out AmericanCapitalistParty.org. We will be back tomorrow. I don't think Mark will be here, but I definitely will. I think Persephone is going to be here, and we want all of you here as well. We love you. Protect individual rights, advocate capitalism, and remember to always check your premises. Peace.